Welcome to the channel, and please subscribe to the channel if you don't want to miss any story. I am Ananya, a married woman and one child. I came from my best friend marriage to my parents' place. At wedding, I see my college friend, whom I love and want to marry. You won't believe the truth came in my life. The wedding hall shimmered with strings of golden lights, laughter spilling from every corner as friends and families gathered to celebrate the joyous union of Mira, Ananya's childhood best friend. The air smelled of jasmine garlands and rich spices, the rhythmic beat of dole echoing across the courtyard. Ananya adjusted the folds of her crimson sari as she stepped through the decorated gates. Her lips wore the faint curve of a polite smile, but inside, her heart felt heavy. It had been months since she had walked away from her husband's house, giving herself the excuse of attending this wedding just to breathe freely for a few days. Her marriage had been nothing but duty stitched with compromise, a hollow shell she lived inside. But that evening, fate had other plans. As she greeted familiar faces, old classmates, relatives, neighbors, her eyes froze on one figure across the courtyard. Samir. Her chest tightened. Samir, her college friend. The boy whose laughter had once brightened her dullest days, whose kindness had carried her through storms, whose absence had left an unhealed wound. The boy she had loved silently, waiting for a confession that never came. The boy who had disappeared one day, leaving no explanation, no goodbye. Her heart pounded painfully against her ribs. For years, she had imagined this moment, their reunion. In her daydreams, he would smile at her. She would smile back. And in that wordless exchange, everything unsaid would finally be spoken. But reality was cruel. When his eyes met hers across the glowing courtyard, there was no warmth, no smile. Just a flicker of recognition followed by a shadow of anger that pierced deeper than any silence could. Summoning courage, she stepped closer. Samir, she said softly, her voice trembling. Hello, Ananya, he replied curtly. His tone was cold, his gaze distant. Then, without a pause, he excused himself and walked away, leaving her standing alone, her throat heavy with unshed tears. Through the rituals and laughter, her eyes kept wandering to him. Samir avoided her gaze, blending effortlessly with the crowd. Each glance stabbed her with questions. Why was he angry? What had she done? That night, lying awake in her guest room, her mind pulled her back to the days when Samir had first vanished. It had been their final semester of college when, suddenly, Samir disappeared. No calls, no messages, nothing. His seat in class remained empty, his laughter gone. Rumors floated in whispers that his father was unwell, that his family was in debt, that tragedy had struck. But no one knew for sure. Driven by fear and desperation, Ananya had gone to his house one evening. She could still remember the rusty gate beneath her trembling hands, the overgrown garden weeds swaying in the breeze, the windows shut tightly as if mourning. The silence had been suffocating. She knocked on the door again and again, each thud echoing her rising panic. No one answered. Finally, an old neighbor stepped out. Are you looking for Samir, Beta? The man asked gently. Her voice had barely escaped her throat. Yes. Is he here? The man's sigh carried a weight of sorrow. His father passed away last month. Poor boy had no choice but to leave. He went to stay with his grandparents, left in such a hurry he couldn't even say goodbye. Ananya's knees had weakened, her hands clutching the cold gate for support. Tears blurred her vision as she stared at the locked house, now hollow and lifeless. She wanted to scream, to run after him, to demand answers, but all she could do was stand there, broken. That night, she had cried herself to sleep, clutching the only note he had ever secretly slipped onto her desk during class. Someday, I'll tell you everything. The morning after Mira's wedding, Ananya's thoughts refused to settle. Every smile from Samir, every anonymous note, every walk they had shared in college replayed endlessly in her mind. She had loved him deeply, though she had never dared to confess. Finally, unable to endure the weight of unanswered questions, she asked Mira about him. Mira's sigh told her more than words. Samir's life changed so suddenly. His father's death broke him. He left college, went to live with his grandparents, and took over their business. He didn't want to disappear, Ananya, but he had no choice. Tears burned at Ananya's eyes. So that was it. He hadn't abandoned her. Life had torn him away. Restless, she went to his business office. The place bustled with workers, the clatter of files and machines filling the air. And there, at the center of it all, stood Samir. He was older now, more serious. Yet beneath the hardened exterior, she could still see the boy she once knew. He noticed her immediately. His jaw tightened, but he did not turn her away. Slowly, she stepped closer, her voice breaking. "Why did you leave without saying anything?" For a moment, his eyes softened, the Samir she remembered flickering back to life. Then his gaze grew distant again. "Because life didn't give me time," he said quietly. "My father died. My grandparents needed me. I had to take over everything. Do you think I wanted to vanish? I wanted to stay? Especially for you. But I couldn't." Her breath caught. "For me?" His voice trembled. "I loved you, Ananya. I had planned to propose on Valentine's Day. Everything was ready. But before that day came, fate tore my world apart. And when I finally returned a year later, determined to tell you the truth, I saw you with another man. Laughing, smiling, I thought you had moved on." Tears slipped down Ananya's cheeks. "Samir, that man wasn't my lover. He was my friend's boyfriend. I never stopped caring for you. But you never came to me. And before I could make sense of it, my marriage was arranged." Samir turned away, his fists clenched. His voice cracked as he spoke. "I was there at your wedding, Ananya, hidden in the crowd. I watched the girl I loved become someone else's bride. Do you know what that felt like? It shattered me." Ananya's heart broke. Fate had been cruel to them both. The room was heavy with silence after Samir's words, as though time itself had paused to witness their pain. Ananya's tears flowed freely now, breaking through years of restraint. Her voice quivered. "If only I had known. Samir, I loved you too. Every single day. I thought you left because I wasn't enough for you. I thought I was just a fleeting part of your life." Samir closed his eyes, as if her words were both healing and cruel. For 5 years, he had buried the storm inside him, convincing himself she had never felt the same. And now, hearing the truth, the wound tore open again. His voice dropped to a whisper. "I even named my son after you." Ananya's breath caught. Her trembling hands clutched at her sari. "You? What?" "To keep you alive in my heart," he admitted. "To carry a part of you with me always. Every time I look at him, I'm reminded of what I lost." Ananya's sobs shook her body. She lowered her gaze, ashamed yet relieved. Her lips trembled as she confessed, "I named my child after you too, even though my husband never knew the reason. Samir, our lives have been circling each other like shadows, bound by misunderstandings, by pain, by fate." For a long moment, they simply stood there, two souls broken by time, yet stitched together by a love that had refused to die. That night, Ananya barely slept. When dawn crept through the curtains, painting the room in pale gold, she knew she could not run anymore. She had to make a choice. By noon, she returned to Samir's office. He looked startled to see her again, but the determination in her eyes silenced his protests. "I told my husband everything," she said quietly. Samir froze. "Everything?" "Yes. About us. About how I loved you. How I still do." Her voice was steady, though her hands trembled. "And I asked him for a divorce." His lips parted in disbelief. And a bitter laugh escaped her. "He agreed in 2 seconds, as if he had been waiting for me to say it. But he demanded one thing, our child. He wants custody, nothing else." Her eyes glistened with unshed tears, but she straightened her shoulders, her voice resolute. "I'm confident about my decision, Samir, because I know one thing. If destiny truly wanted us together, it would not have let so many confusions and tragedies stand between us. Perhaps God has written a different story for us." Samir's throat ached with unshed words. "Ananya." She stepped closer, her fingers brushing against his arm, her tears finally spilling. "I want you to marry a woman who will bring joy to your life, someone who can love you freely, without barriers, someone who can stand by you the way I couldn't. You deserve happiness, Samir." He opened his mouth to protest, but she silenced him with a gentle embrace. A long, desperate hug that carried every unspoken word of the past decade. His arms wrapped around her, reluctant to let go, yet knowing he must. Her voice, muffled against his shoulder, trembled. "Goodbye, Samir. In another life, perhaps we'll meet without walls between us. But in this one, let's accept what God has written." And with that, she pulled away, her sari trailing like a red river behind her as she walked toward the door. Samir stood frozen, his vision blurred, his chest burning with a grief that was both unbearable and strangely freeing. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. Life moved forward, though neither Samir nor Ananya forgot. Samir buried himself in his business and his son, yet at night he would stand at the window, staring at the stars. He never stopped whispering her name into the silence, a prayer, a memory, a promise. Ananya returned to her husband's house, not as a broken woman, but as one who had finally faced her truth. She had lost much, yet she had gained clarity. And in the quiet of the night, when her child slept beside her, she would softly whisper Samir's name, as though the sound alone kept him close. Their love had not ended. It had transformed into a silent force that lived beyond marriage, beyond distance, beyond fate. A love that existed in memories, in whispered names, in children unknowingly carrying their parents' hidden devotion. And though destiny had kept them apart, both found solace in the same truth, that their love had been real, pure, unspoken, yet eternal. Share this story to the one who is facing issues in getting marriage. Thanks for watching this story.